Hello everyone, I'm Colin Kinnett. Today I'm going to take you over to Scott Zachow's workshop. Scott builds custom pool cues and they are absolutely stunning. He's an incredible craftsman and he's going to give us a bit of an overview on the process that he goes through in building all of these, and I think you'll be as impressed as I was to see just how much work it takes to build custom pool cues. Well, here we are in Zach's workshop, and I was pretty impressed when I first walked in here. He's got 7 different lathes in here. We're not going to look at every one of them today, but he is going to take us on the process of what he does and all the effort that he goes through in making pool cues. So let's get started here. Glad to be here today, Zach.
Well, glad to have you. Hope I can show your customers or your people the way I build pool cues.
So where does this all start, Zach?
Finding good wood. That's where it starts, finding good wood. And you know, just buy blanks. This is Eastern maple.
Okay.
And this is what I make all my shafts out of. Take a piece like this, cut it into a square, put it in the lathe, turn it to a dowel, and then to a slight taper. Then hang it for a month. Okay, these here are maple shafts. They're turned to a taper right now, and they'll sit here as long as I can. The longer they sit, the better. And then slowly, I'll be moving them over to this other lathe and take off, 20 thousandths of an inch every month, and so they stay stable.
What's the moisture content you like to see these get down to?
I like to see them down to 6% type thing,
Okay.
but then your normal humidity of the area you live in defines on what it's going to end up to be type thing, eh? Because I've built cues here and shipped them all over the world, and different areas of the world. The wood's is going to move a little bit, it's going to dry, or it's going to swell. So, but I like to start off with 6%, and then it can go up, but it's not going to go down anymore. Yeah. Now here's just an example of the different exotic hardwoods that I try to purchase type thing,
Yeah.
Like there's I use a lot of ebony, a lot of purple heart, a lot of Eastern maple, tiger maple, Paduk, Ambonia burls, Indian rosewoods.
Well, you got a little bit of everything, eh?
Yeah.
I bet you're always looking for different hardwoods too, aren't you?
Always. They're hard to come by.
If anybody had any spare pieces of wood, I bet you wouldn't mind a little donation of some special little woods, eh?
Donation or a purchase, either or,
Okay.
It's got to be a good, dense hardwood with some figuring type thing,
Okay, all right.
Because you've got to make these cues as attractive as possible and playable,
Okay, Okay, so a quick change in microphones. Now you were going to show us what a point means. I don't know what a point means.
After you decide if you're going to make a 6-pointer, an 8-pointer, 4-pointer, then you go through the process of taking a dowel, like so, and then cutting 4 points into it.
Okay.
And then inlaying woods into it.
Let's just put that down just in the camera here. So just so you can see, this is what the points, and I'll do a close-up of that in a second, but these are all bits of wood that Scott has put in there. And the points, he's referring to the points, are this area here, where they all line up. And he showed me, I'm kind of jumping in here, but it's pretty important when you see like this, and this point here, see how that point comes up like that? And that point aligns with that one, and if you go all the way around, this is what you look for in a quality pool stick, is these points all line up all the way along. And when you go to the end, the same thing. Look at this, all of these points all line up. Now that may not sound like much when you look at it here, but when you see that all of these woods that he's using are all veneers that he puts together himself with some natural woods. And I'll do a close-up of this so that you can see all of these pieces and what the ends look like and how this all comes together. So let me do a tight shot so you can see that. So there's what I was talking about, this round piece here and how all of these veneers and these pieces of wood, he explained to me, if you look at the veneers here, all of those veneers need to line up, and all of these pieces of wood, look at how perfectly all of that is, and that's what goes in to making these points. So there's a close-up of that piece of wood. So there's the blanks that I just showed you when they're square, but now they're down to here, and this is, so there's 1, 2, 3, this is a 4-pointer, and it's going to be an 8-pointer. But if you look closely, you can see Scott has to go in there and cut square. He has to cut that out in each one of these. So then he's going to turn it, as he just said. Then he's going to, and you can see up here where he started to make this groove. He's already marked this, where that groove, he's going to have to cut this out after it's turned again and cut another square in this area so that he can inlay that in there. And if you look at that, you can see how much longer that is than what's there. So this is where the 8-pointer comes in. So quite a bit more work, and probably a little bit more price-wise too, isn't it?
Yes, more hours involved into it, a lot more precision work. These are just reference lines, so when I put it back into my indexing head, I can line it up perfectly so we get all these matching points, as you explained earlier, because that's very important.
Okay. Okay, you started to explain something.
Okay. These are the major components of your pool cue. This being called your forearm, with your points into it.
Yeah.
This being your handle. This being your butt sleeve. And the butt protector type thing.
Okay.
Okay. So what happens is this will get bored out. It'll slide over here. We'll glue that up. We'll turn this down to the same diameter as your butt sleeve. Okay. This will slide on. Okay. This will slide on. Get it all glued together. Put it back in the lathe. Make sure that your forearm is running true. You don't care about this as much because it's all oversized. It'll get turned down until it comes out looking like so.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
I got a set of scales here, and I have a ready rod here. Now, when I join these two pieces together, I decide on how much I want this cue to weigh, and then I cut my piece of ready rod accordingly and insert it in between these two.
Okay.
Okay, so after you got your final cut onto your butt, it's time to put a joint pin in, which connects the butt to the shaft. The first thing you do, put a collet onto your butt so you're not scarring up the wood, because this is your final pass. Put a dial indicator on it and make sure that it's rotating perfectly.
Wow.
So you can sensor drill it. I mean, as it is right now, that thing might be out a half of a thousandth of a degree.
I see that.
You see that, eh?
Yeah, there's like hardly anything.
Any movement at all.
Yeah. Well, Scott and I are in a spray booth, but it's just too small to bring the camera in, so we're going to bring a couple of cues out to let you have a look at what he's doing in here. So these are what you've just taken out of the spray booth, and I noticed there's no spray in this area. Is there some sort of a wrap that goes on there or something?
This is your handle, okay?
Okay.
And that's where your hand is usually positioned on the pool cue when you're playing a game.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll either put a leather wrap on this or an Irish linen wrap. So what happens is after this is completely polished and I'm satisfied with it, I'll take it back to the lathe again, dial it in, true it up, and then I'll cut from here to here down 22.5 thousandths of an inch.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
And it's got to be spinning perfectly. Yeah. Otherwise you're cutting one side more than the other side and it's not going to look good.
Wow.
And then I'll wrap it with either leather or with Irish linen.
Okay. I haven't asked you yet, but what kind of a price range? Can you talk about price about the pool cues that you make?
Prices vary, and you can get into an entry-level cue of mine for about $350.
Okay.
From there they vary, they go up. Like a typical 6-pointer like this, just with the wrap, no inlays in that, it's gonna run you around $800.
Okay.
Once you start getting more inlays into it, more points, depending if it's a linen wrap or a leather wrap, the price goes up type thing. You gotta remember these are all done by hand. They take hours,
Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
you can't be just doing it just for the joy of it.
Yeah, no, that's
You
right.
know?
Yeah. Now, one of the last thing that happens is putting a handle on, and when Scott said Irish linen, I wasn't thinking of thread. This looks like dental floss. It's that thin. This is just a thread, and he's going to wind that thread on. Either this, or he might be using leather strips, depending on what the customer wants.
And then it'll start wrapping it. And what happens here is I got a reversing motor.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah. Oh, so you can do it by...
On a foot handle.
Oh, I see.
Once this is started,
Yeah.
then I just wrap it and just go all the way along to the end.
Okay, all right.